Well, good evening, everyone. That was a raw and incredible performance. I think we would all say that, regardless of what resonated with you and what didn't resonate with you. It's really interesting when you're a superintendent and the position that you're put in to bring healing, to bring learning, to bring communities together. And in a place like Milwaukee that is just plagued with the legacy of institutional racism, of hypersegregation. It's really more than a notion. And as I was listening, and they talk about this horrible legacy that we have of racism in our country, I can't help but think of, how are we contributing to some of the violence that's happening in our community? And I say that because I've been a community responder before. I was here for American Song, which was about school shooting. And we're right back here again. And gun violence and education are in the same sentence a little too often for my liking. We've had 2 young girls who have been shot just in the past month. And you start to think, what are we doing to contribute to this? We're in the middle of a civil rights investigation because we are disproportionately suspending African American children. And we're contributing to this pipeline and telling our children that they don't matter, that they belong in these corners, that they don't know how to act, and trying to think through how do we break down these barriers? How do we get people to cross that line in our city, cross the 16th Street Bridge or cross 94, get out of this north side, south side? And it's a constant issue that we have to grapple with because this is what our young people deal with every day. Behind me, I don't know if everybody can see this urban memorial. This is at every block, right around the corner from our schools. Something that, how am I telling my children, come to school, invest in your education, because this is going to guarantee you a better life when this is what they have to walk by. But this is real as it gets, and we have to be willing to listen. Just before Michael Brown was murdered, we had our own. Dontre Hamilton was killed. And 2 years later, Syvelle Smith was killed. Both of them at the hands of police officers, both of them MPS students, adults. They were MPS students, and the ripple effect that had in our community. And when we started to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? We had to turn to our young people to help give us the answers. A lot of the programs and initiatives and things that we do, people ask all the time, like, well, where are you coming up with these ideas? And why are you so pressed to do these things? I just don't understand. The early start calendar for our high school students starting in August, that's for a reason. Anybody pay attention to the number of homicides that happen in August? Different incidents and violence that happens in August? We knew if we could get our kids in school just a little bit earlier, we might have a chance. We might have a chance to keep them off the street. We might have a chance to keep them safe. Uniforms. We heard this over and over. People were talking about appearances and stereotyping and how we view one another. We wanted uniforms for our young people because we had an incident not too long ago where I had 5 young football players who got in a car accident on the way to school at James Madison. One of them even had his hair dyed green. And they were hurt real bad. And they were pulled over. The police, one of the kids actually heard the police say, well, we think they were coming from a bank. Now, this was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So they said, well, we think we're coming from a bank. So they stripped the car that the kids were in. And these were kids, if you look at them, you can tell they are children. They are in high school. But they stripped this car because they just assumed that they had just come from trying to rob a bank. And they had food from McDonald's. So they thought maybe they were trying to steal from a McDonald's. These are kids, and I'm not exaggerating. And so part of the whole uniform conversation was, well, how do we change the perception that people have of our children? These were 5 young black males, all of them on honor roll, all of them athletes, but it was assumed that they had to be committing some kind of crime, even though they were turning on florists to go to school. And these are the kind of things that we grapple with all the time. And somewhere we've got to figure how we're going to start listening and taking collective and decisive action to make this change. Because just as we were listening here, it was a little too real, because I know what it's like to be pulled over in your own driveway, when you're riding with someone who has a car that looks like another car that was stolen from around the corner. I know what it's like to be on a highway, and it's late after you're coming back from vacation, and you're riding in a car, and you realize you're being followed, and somebody is running your plates, and that somebody's a police officer, and there's nobody else on the road, and you're thinking, my God, I just want to get home. So there's a lot of healing that has to happen. There are a lot of conversations that have to happen. I am so proud that Link Jackie Hurd Barber was the one that got this here, and John Kordsmeyer. My sisters from the Links are here tonight. I hope that, yes, y'all go ahead and clap. And I just hope that we have more of these types of performances and conversations. I just want to encourage us not to only have them in the safety of the rep in downtown Milwaukee, but let us take these conversations out to our communities and figure out how we can make them better, because I believe that's really the only way that's going to change. So thank you for having me here tonight. And Dael, wherever you are, you did a fabulous job. Thank you.